I say close, you say Rikers. Close! Rikers! Close! Rikers!
This is the Close Rikers campaign. It's a movement to close Rikers Island and decarcerate New York City, started by the very people once incarcerated there. There'll be another video coming out soon which covers ATIs, alternatives to incarceration, as well as divestment from police and other solutions. But in this video, we're focusing on how impacted leaders are transforming the justice system in New York.
Demand a drop-in meeting with Eric Adams. We want to make sure that he understands formerly incarcerated leaders and advocates across this city support this plan for improved conditions and reduced jail capacity in New York City.
One thing that we were able to get across was that we needed them to support increased investments in alternatives to incarceration.
Down again with somebody at this office, we did not know if they were going to sit down with us, so that's why it took us a little bit longer. Here we will be sitting down with Gail Brewer's staff, her deputy borough president, Matthew Washington.
Side note, Rikers is actually a complex of 10 jails, including one floating barge known as the Boat. Right now, leaders are advocating for the approval of land use by the City Council this fall. It's been the plan since they launched in 2016, and in the following year, 2017, the Close Rikers campaign won an important victory with DeBlasio's public pledge to close the jails for good. So in this phase, activists are ramping up their demonstrations to alert the public and elected officials alike about what's at stake. On Tuesday, June 4, 2019, Close Rikers advocates held a day of action. They called on New York borough presidents to support the land use process, replacing 12 jails with 4 borough-based facilities.
De Blasio's administration has been historically terrible on criminal justice reform or decriminalization. We have forced them through this campaign to reckon with the reality of Rikers Island and the urgency of closing Rikers. This is not something that de Blasio wanted to do.
According to leaders in the movement and several government investigations, violence and substandard living conditions often go unchecked here. What's more is that the conditions at Rikers are also environmentally toxic. That might be because New York expanded the island as a landfill in the 1920s and 30s. Studies later discovered carcinogens in drinking water, while incarcerated people and CEOs alike repeatedly described symptoms caused from living on top of a landfill. And to make matters worse, many of the buildings are now reportedly falling apart and sinking.
Right, so we continue to harass Mayor and create this toxicity around him and say, oh, we're going to let up now that you said you give it to us, but we're still following you everywhere. We had a vigil outside of his home in December to remind him that while he's enjoying his Christmas meal with his family, there are people who are freezing to death on Rikers Island.
We were unable to speak with the borough president himself. He wasn't there, but he directed us to, we were directed to his communications director, John DeCeo.
But it's interesting to note that he is in favor of closing Rikers Island.
Absolutely.
He is absolutely in favor of closing Rikers Island. It appears that way. What he is saying is that he would prefer for the new site to be closer to the Bronx family court, the Bronx court area. But we are saying if it impedes the process for closing Rikers Island, we're not in favor.
3 boroughs down, we got 1 more to go. Queens, we're coming for you right now. Jumping back on the bus. So this should be a productive meeting. This is the first meeting of its kind we've ever had with the Queens Borough President's Office in this district. So it'll be interesting.
It needs to be closed, it needs to be demolished. We need to move into practices that incorporate restorative justice.
It's literally killing people. We have young people hanging up, which means to commit suicide. You have older people who are struggling from mental health illnesses. You have people who are struggling from drug addictions. These people don't need to be sitting in jail. They need treatment.
And we're going to be able to honor the folks who have lost their lives or have been killed on Rikers Island in recent years, and remembering the folks who are still there today.
Zakia, she's 61 years old. After 3 weeks on Rikers in 2014, she began vomiting blood in her cell and died a few weeks later of medical malpractice. I want to put her name out there because they aren't physically here. Freedom! Let him go.
Though Close Rikers advocates were successful in forcing the city to agree to historic decarceration, the plan for the new site has to move forward for them to close Rikers. Nonetheless, one thing is made clear. Rikers will eventually close its doors for good. The only question is, when? And for closed Rikers advocates, the answer is now.